Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Sht podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and once again, you're stuck with me in the driver's seat for today's show as we learn how to stop chasing paychecks and learn how to start closing customers for life. How to take and do deals and build a business we can be proud of, and we learn how to build a business the best possible way, from talking to people who've been successful in business to see how they reach the level of success they've achieved. So that being said, we have a great show for you today because we have a great guest. We have Glenn with us. Glenn, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. So Glenn, why don't you tell everybody what it is you do?
I am a consultant. I do what I would say is mostly what I do is workplace rehab. So I get called when workplaces are really struggling. I work a lot in the government space, not just government, but I work a lot in local government, which is now, of course, in the press about how that can work. I've been doing it about 10 years, though, and it's been super rewarding because we are able to change people's lives, but through the workplace, and that's really what my mission is.
Got it. What got you started doing that?
I've been well. I guess that's my why story, really, is that I worked in local government for 25 years. I worked in a number of tough environments. One was incredibly toxic. I had two really close friends there at that workplace. And for different reasons, the workplace ate them alive. And I watched it, and the workplace had no idea how to fix it. And one of them, they both self-medicated. One self-medicated, and so much so that he lost his job, lost his family, don't know where he is. The second one, self-medicated, got in a bad relationship. It broke up, and he went to her house and took his own life.
Jeez.
And I watched that evolve. I tried to help where I could, but I watched it evolve and realized my mission became to make sure that if I can help someone so that doesn't happen again, I will. And that's what motivates me to go in and do these things.
So what do you like best about it?
I love meeting new people and being able to help them see their value in the world and helping them get on purpose.
Okay.
It's
the good stuff.
Yeah, it is so amazing to watch someone get on fire with a purpose in life.
Yeah. So where do you think all the success came from for you?
Well, it started with my parents. They were there for me. They let me struggle, let me fail, even though they took crap for it by the community that I grew up in, because it was a small community. But I think for me, I've been given a skill. I call it a gift set. It was stuff I know how to do, and I've been able to really see and listen to people and feel what they feel, and then understand what they really want, and then help them get it. And I've been doing that since I've been 10 years old. It just evolved, and I've been lucky enough to live my purpose and use all my skills to develop that.
So what do you think in your makeup? I mean, you're talking about these skills. If you were to look at you, what do you think makes you good at what you do?
Number one's perseverance. I quit on nothing or no one, and that's easier said than done.
Sure.
And life has taught me to keep doing that. I think the other thing is that I definitely care about people. Mm-hmm. I know that every business that is created is at the heart of it is serving another human being.
Sure.
And I've taken that on, and I watched, again, that came from my parents. They did it all their lives. And then I would say that I don't stay in a box. I have fought my whole life to not be put in a box. And so when I see something that doesn't make sense to me, I won't follow.
Okay.
I will break loose at cost to myself. That doesn't.
Sure. No, I get that. No, so
So
there's sometimes a price tag to be paid for
yeah.
being the one that won't take it laying down. How do you deal with and manage yourself when there's disappointment and unmet expectation? It's always an entrepreneur's burden, right? We
Mhm.
always see the good part, but when there's the bad, how do you manage that?
Well, that's a great question. I've been dealing with that lately, right? So my business has been successful at times and not at others. So I go internal first, right? That's my leadership mantra as well, is check me first.
Yeah.
So I have a process that I go through, and a couple of them are, number one is I stop doing um, the grind.
Okay.
I just say time out and I stop. And that allows me to do some self reflection and self analysis to realize what is going on. Because I think that's one of the things that we as entrepreneurs, I know for me, hey, if I can't, if it's not working out, I'll just grind harder. I'll just push harder. And I will do that. But there comes a time when you've got to reset what you're doing and what your focus is, and how you're doing. And sometimes that's how I realized that I need to learn to do something new.
Hmm.
And wait, I'm not doing that well. And so the question is, can I do that well, or should I hire someone to do it?
Should I outsource it? Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. I mean, one of the big entrepreneurial mistakes that people make is thinking they have to do everything
Yeah.
wonderfully themselves.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
sometimes I'm the wrong person, and so
Yeah.
if I'm the wrong person, let me get me out of the way so I can get the right person in there and do it.
Right. Which is easier said than done, right? Because
Yeah,
we've
no,
got
it's
you.
totally a thing.
Yeah.
What's a tool that you would use that you would suggest to help our listeners? Is there a tool that you could think of that you use?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple. Everyone jokes about it, but I do journal,
Hmm.
and I keep kind of two.
Hmm.
One is that the gratitude journal, which is important to the process, but the other one is a venting journal,
Ah,
and I
most
just
guys a
let it.
jerk face. Grr.
That's right. I just let it loose.
Hmm.
And usually when I do, by the time I get to the end, right, why is this person not doing this and this person's not doing this? And then when I get to the end and I let it out, because that's something we don't do a lot.
Right.
And society doesn't want us to do that in a in
Yeah, yeah,
many
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
So when I do that, I feel like I have the release. And by the end of my journal, I'm starting to write some solutions.
Yeah, yeah. So you
And
have perspective. The
it really
emotions go
works.
away, and you can get
Yep.
perspective. Um, that's not the only writing that you do, though. You've written a book as well, haven't you?
I have. I have.
Tell us
I
a little about
I
that.
wrote a book called The Human Centered Team, and it is um, my program, the way that I built teams over the years, and the
Hmm.
way I do it within my consultant business as well. And it also, what it ended up being is very personal, because on top of kind of giving, here's how I do it, I talked about how I learned the lessons to do it
Hmm.
that.
Gotcha. So, as you look at the market and what's going on out there, what do you see as the opportunity in the market today? What's the thing that's got you excited?
Uh, well, I think when I go into a workplace, I look at workplaces are operating about 50 or 60% if they're doing well
Hmm.
of their effectiveness.
Yeah, capacity.
And most of it is the human side of it, the motivation, the engagement. We've heard the statistics about how few people are truly engaged in the workplace.
Sure.
And the opportunity is that the young, up and coming group, everyone talks about them in a negative light, but they aren't going to tolerate some of the stuff that we tolerated as we came into the workplace. And they are demanding that we are purposeful and we are thoughtful about things, and that is I think that's the growth. That's the opportunity, is that's where innovation, and energy and high standards create innovation, which creates growth in the marketplace, as well as in the human, being human beings as well.
Sure. What would you say is the most, if you were to look back engage? You've been through, as an entrepreneur, is lots of different roads, lots of wins, losses, all that kind of stuff. What would you say is the most important thing that you've learned in the process of doing all that you've done?
Um, I would say the some of the bigger mistakes that I made was um, getting rather than I took people at their word
Mm,
and didn't take them at and didn't get their commitment first.
okay.
So example of that is everyone said they wanted me to put on a leadership class, and I had 100 people say in email in writing say I'll be there. You have it. I'll be there. And so we got it all ready without the prep, without the signatures on the line, and spent some money to get this site and get ready, and no one signed up.
Yeah.
And so
That's
it was such a good lesson. I mean, it was painful, but it was in a lot of ways, but it was really a good lesson to realize people have other things that get in the way. And part
always.
of that sales deal is closing the deal before you commit to delivering the
Mhm.
product.
Get them to commit before you commit. It's part of what you have to do.
Yeah.
So, what would you say, Glenn, you're most proud of in business that you've accomplished so far?
Um, Interestingly enough, there are two clients I had that um, if I looked at first, I thought they were failures. And the
Mm,
reason I felt they were failures is because I didn't get the leadership to finish the process, the change
mhm,
process. But afterwards, both clients had staffs of one had 35, one had 40. And within 18 months, the entire staff had changed over.
mm,
And all the people that I had worked with had gone on to find their dream jobs.
mm,
And so I what I'm most proud of as I've gone through this is that the impact that I've been able to have in creating relationships with people so they believe in themselves and they go out and do what they've always wanted to do.
mm.
Uh, and I only played a little part. I just showed them the road. But it's been I'm incredibly proud to have been a part of that. And we're not just talking about those 75 people. Um, I'm near 10,000 in people that I've impacted that way.
Nice. So, similar question, but a little bit more personal. What would you say you're most proud of in life that you've accomplished?
Um, Two things. One, people always use this, so I'm not going to say it's the only one, but my kids are really cool people. One's a psychiatrist and one's in business, and they're both doing wonderful. And it wasn't always easy, so that.
Hmm.
But I would say for me is that I have continued to evolve. I am not the same person I was 2 years ago, and certainly not the one I was 20 years ago. And
Mm,
I've been able to improve and get better. And um, and I'm really proud of that. I think that's why one of the reasons we're here on the planet.
sure.
And um, and I just turned 60, and to me, there were people in my past who would tell you, "I can't believe you made it to 60."
Mm,
um, but it's so um, I'm just really proud to do that, and that goes directly to being a legacy of my father,
sure.
who did the same.
All right. What one piece of advice would you give the folks listening today if you could?
I would, we just shared how I evolved, and I'm proud of that. What I would say to people is, I didn't do it alone.
Mm,
And like we said earlier, as entrepreneurs, we think we're the best at everything, or we get in that mode. Um, Ask for help. We're horrible at it, but ask people for help when you need it, and you'll be surprised at how many people show up.
okay. If you had to narrow it down, what one book would you recommend?
That's a hard one because I read a lot of them. Um, for me, there were a couple, but the one that really got me on this journey as I was going through a divorce at 27
Mm,
was "Awaken the Giant Within" by Anthony Robbins.
Okay.
And what helped me is I just followed his guide. He takes the book is that thick. It's but if you take it in small chunks, for me, it changed my life. It allowed me to start on this journey, um, and and I didn't. I eventually got to go to one of his seminars, but that was about 15 years after I read the book.
Hmm.
I just took it real serious and followed every step, and it worked for me.
Awesome. Favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie? It would have to be Miracle,
Okay.
about the hockey team,
All right.
and it is that because a number of reasons, but just the story of a leader who sacrifices everything for his team to win.
Hmm.
And then my dad was actually there. He was a police officer, and he was there doing security in 1980 when that happened. He was in the arena.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So I have a connection.
Beautiful. Famous person in history you'd want to meet if you could?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Good choice. Interesting guy.
Yeah, just incredible life he lived.
Yeah. No, he really did. I mean, he did a lot of different things. Similar question, but a little bit more personal. Person from your past you'd want to sit down with and have lunch with today if you could?
I would say my dad because he's gone.
Okay. I would say the same thing if you'd asked me the same question.
Yeah.
One piece of advice you'd go back and give a younger version of you?
You don't always you don't always have to take the toughest path.
Okay. You don't have to always do it the hard way.
That's right, because
There are alternatives.
I've been committed to do that my whole life, and I say that I can do the impossible, and there are times when I really have, but you don't have to do it every time.
Not every time. Not every
No,
time.
no.
All right. If you had to be stuck in a foxhole with somebody, who would you pick to have in the foxhole with you?
My brothers.
All right. All right. Glenn, what do you do to unwind, bud?
I do a number of things. We travel, but one of my big hobbies is horse racing. I've owned a couple of them over the years, and I've got some really good friends. We travel around to the tracks and go to the World Championships every year, and it's just a fun social release where I don't think about being an entrepreneur for a few hours.
A little bit of give yourself a mental break. Nothing wrong
Right.
with a little bit of mental easing there.
Right.
So, Glenn, one thing I know about entrepreneurs is their heads are always going. They're always thinking that it's always winding. What's next for you? What's the next project? What's the next thing that you're thinking about doing? What's got you
Well,
excited?
I'm working with a marketing group that that I have only been working with them a few months, but we just came up with an idea to do a webinar
Okay.
on really on a couple of things that are going on now: toxic workplaces, toxic employees that are in them, and the change process. So we're working on that. I'm really excited about that. That's not always a. I've spent a lot of time in front of the camera recently, and it feels pretty good, and I'm looking forward to doing that with them.
Awesome. Last real question I have for you, Glenn, and then you've survived the gauntlet. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn for sure. You can find us at me at the website akramoff.com, and can check out there. And there's you can definitely get if you're interested in anything, please hit on the email. It comes directly to me, so I will respond to you directly. And then you can find the book at Amazon.
Okay. Well, Glenn, thank you so much for your time, for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us and telling us a little bit about how you got to be who you are today. Really great having you on, bud.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
And let me thank our listeners. Thank you guys for spending your time with us, hanging out here at on the podcast. I remind you, as I always do, there's never a good excuse not to know your shit. Till next time.